If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today I'd like to give a special thank you and shout out to Chipmunk Baking. That's right, Chipmunk is a Houston-based small business that specializes in making delicious soft-baked cookies from all clean ingredients that maximize both taste and health. Their products have no sugar added, no artificial sweeteners, or sugar alcohols. Instead, they use monk fruit to make delicious, naturally low-carb cookies with no added sugar, perfect for gluten-free, low-carb, keto, and low-sugar diets, or for anyone looking for a more mindful dessert option. And right now, as a thank you to the listeners, for those looking to try the Chipmunk cookies, there is a special 15% off code when you go to their website at chipmonkbaking.com. That's Chip, C-H-I-P, Monk, M-O-N-K, Baking, B-A-K-I-N-G, chipmonkbaking.com, and there you can get 15% off when you use the code Sheila Mac, S-H-E-I-L-A-M-A-C. So 15% off using the code Sheila Mac when you go to chipmonkbaking.com. And let me tell you, they really and truly have made my dream come true to be able to eat healthy, protein and keto style cookies. I am gluten-free and I do have to watch my sugars, so I do not eat any real sugar myself. And so this is really a gift, and I look forward to enjoying these over the years. Thank you again, chipmonkbaking.com.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mac's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. So if life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.SheilaMac.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
All right. Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. Today, I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have a very special guest that I'm going to introduce. And so let's see here. And my information is not showing up. Okay, here we go. All right. And so today we have special guest Lakinya Francis. Lakinya, she was looking for a source of additional income that wouldn't require too much of an investment on either time or money. She created the iKrave vending program. She is actually the founder and discovered an opportunity to start up a small vending machine service company. Through the initial startup cost, it was also reasonably affordable, and her efforts took no time away from her full-time work. Lakinya found that finding high quality equipment that wouldn't break the bank and then obtaining locations in which to place her machines provided to be a challenge. So her tenacity finally paid off. After months of searching for a used machine that met her expectations, she was able to soon start enjoying the profits after placing her vending machine in a local mechanic shop. Wow. Well, that's interesting. So I can't wait to hear all about that. Welcome to the show, Lakinya.
All right. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to share some insight with everyone.
Yes, and now this show is based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And we've had some situations this last almost 2 years now.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yes. And so I'd love for you to share a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a difficult situation and how you got back on track.
Well, I'll kind of pinpoint it to vending, and this is actually related to the times that we're in. And I love to share this with people because prior to that, it's something that I never even thought of. So I had a location one time, right? And I went to go visit the location. And this is right after, things started opening back up after COVID. So I went to visit the location, and I went there and I noticed that there was tape on the machine. And I'm like, what's going on? So anyways, the owner, there was a language barrier, but she was able to get someone on the phone. And basically the owner of the business sold it and didn't even tell me.
Oh.
So the new owner, she wanted the machines gone because she wanted to use the space for something else. So, sometimes people always give the upside of businesses and never really tell the dark side. So that was kind of challenging because I didn't know. I just finished spending money on product. So I had to think quick. Mm-hmm. So I ended up selling those machines for a profit, which is something else that's, pretty interesting. But the whole point of that is I didn't have a contract in place or some sort of agreement. And then had I would have, it would have probably saved me that headache and stuff. So I actually used that as a really good point to share with others who are getting into the industry to get you an agreement before you just shake hands on it. So, so that's my tough time.
Wow. Well, that's good that you were able to make a profit on the sale and move forward still. And then the lesson of the contract showed up. And coming from a real estate background, even if somebody has a contract with you or for a vending machine, or let's say they used to do a lot of these contracts for the phone cells on your roof, things like that, or a billboard, that contract goes with the property upon the sale. And so they have to let the buyer know, and then the buyer of the property can buy you out or honor the contract. Usually. So that's something, and there's clauses that you can add to your contract, but usually that's the case. And so it is something that you have recourse, even if things get sold in the future, although people are going to do what they're going to do. And sometimes they take matters into their own hands, but then you have that contract to protect you. And I remember years ago going through learning how to manage property on the side. I raised 6 kids and worked really hard, mostly paid for everything myself and didn't have the support of another income. And 3 adopted, 3 from birth, but really it's a big family to raise. And so I was always doing this or that. And I managed properties for a long time. And in managing properties, I remember I had to learn the legal part about the contract and the legal things. And they sent me to an attorney, and the attorney would say, well, they want to save money, so I'm going to tell you what to do, and then I'll edit it. And so I learned about these legal contracts, and I thought, oh, this is such a bother. I don't want to get into all this. And it really blessed me.
That knowledge, they can't take that away from you. It's yours now.
Yes. And so sometimes our obstacles or difficulties are really gifts, and it's hard to see them at the moment. I just saw it as, this is not what I signed up for.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was definitely something. Now, I'd love to hear more about how the vending machine industry works and how did you get started in that?
Right. So I guess I'll start with how I got started with it. So this is pretty funny. I was not using my spare time productively. So I was like, I gotta find something to get into. I wouldn't mind making some extra money, but let me find something that I don't have to sell my soul to get started. And that's realistic, right? That's realistic for a working person. And I honestly stumbled across vending and I'm like, whoa, but hold on. I thought that you had to be some kind of big company to get into this. Yeah. And I started doing research and one day I just said, hey, I'm buying machines, and because I've already done the research. And at this point, you just got to do it. And I literally, from the very beginning with just buying the machines, I learned so much. It cost me some money, to be honest with you. But what I was able to do, I was able to kind of turn that around, right, and monetize from my knowledge and just kind of help everyone else who was trying to get into it. And over the last 2 years that I've been helping others, it's so interesting because a lot of people don't stop to realize that vending is not just for snacks and drinks. Yeah, it's really not. And so I'm really helping a lot of people get into different types of vending. So, you know, if someone wanted to get in vending now, I would ask them the first thing, well, what type of vending do you want to do? Right. Because one of the most popular things that I'm helping with, and this actually happened during the pandemic, and I was very surprised, like, what? You know, the beauty industry. Man, I learned that regardless of what we're going through, what times we're in, people are going to pay to look good and feel good, right? And they're just going to upkeep themselves, men and women. And so I got a lot of people that were interested in selling beauty supplies from the vending machine. So, you know, of course, I started building my resources and my Rolodex. And that's one of the things that I was, you know, helping people get into. And I'm still doing that now. It's the beauty supplies. So that's one type of vending. Another unique one is the CBD vending. So the CBD products inside of the vending machine. Of course, snacks and drinks, candy machines. I've been working with a lot of parents, right? They're like, hey, you know, I want to start my kids a little business, something it's fun, you know, and it's not, they'll get excited with it and they'll kind of learn some financial skills. And so I do a lot of, you know, one-on-ones with the candy machines where you put the quarter. I'm sure everybody's used one of those before. So that's just one thing, you know, figuring out the type of business vending that you want to get into. And then, can you guess what's the most difficult part about it? When it comes to placement, placement, finding the right location for your machine. You have to think about it, like, how are you benefiting from it? Because it's your machine, right? And it's going to be placed in somebody's business or establishment, and people are going to use it. But in order for you to make money from it, you have to have the people there. So you have to be very strategic and careful about the location that you're trying to acquire. So that is actually really, really probably the most important part of the business. You know, you can buy anything anywhere. People are selling vending machines everywhere. You just got to look. But finding the right location, it takes some research, probably like similar to real estate, you know? Yeah. Where you know, the location and, you know, those things play a big part. So the location is probably the most difficult part about the business, but it is the most important part because it'll allow you to be, you know, there's some people, man, they have some really profitable places and they're making tons of money. More than we kind of underestimate, like, oh, it's a vending machine, you know, it's just $1 or $2. And there's some people that they do that for a living, you know, multiple machines and, you know, and it's not 100% passive, but it is semi-passive because once you get the machine and you get it in a place, all you have to do is maintain it, keeping it stocked with your, you know, your drinks and your snacks or whatever product you're selling. And, you know, you may visit once a week, twice a month, every other week, however the flow is. And yeah, it's actually a really interesting like side hustle. It's actually kind of fun, and it just really fit my personality.
Nice.
Because my mom always tell me you're like a big kid, but you're an adult. So
Yeah.
it's especially in the background that I come in, with profession, more serious. And yeah, this was something that allowed me to kind of be myself, right? I didn't have to dress up. I literally can, go in and make conversation with the people in the place and, ask them what they want in the machine. And yeah, so it's a cute little fun business to get going. And yeah.
Wow. Now, okay. So what is your other thing that you do other than the vending?
I won't get very, very specific, but I do work a 9 to 5, and I teach adults.
Wow.
Yeah, and I actually used to be, prior to that, I was a high school and a middle school teacher.
Nice.
So yeah, so when it came back around to this vending and helping other people, that's where I really found my space, because, people would start asking like, how do you get into that? And then, that's when I started holding consultations. And I'm like, man, I love this. Being so resourceful to people. And one thing I learned is that you can have a ton of knowledge, but not everybody can, get the information across the same way. And this was just something natural for me. So it actually kind of tied into what I'm already, used to doing, kind of instructing and teaching and guiding. So yeah.
I love that, because it's helping people. Just about anybody can use a little side business that's semi-passive and
yes,
easy to do right now. And with the situation the way it is, many times people aren't able to get to where they need to go, or it's just more convenient to pick something up, whether it's a snack or beauty products. I mean, I learned over this lockdown, I had to learn how to do my own nails. I had to learn all these crazy things that I never did before. And, and it's like, okay, some things are still nice to go do, but then there's other things. Nails, I would pay for the powder dip. It was $65 to $100.
It's expensive.
Depending on whatever they did. And you go a couple times a month.
It's
and
expensive.
You know what's really ridiculous? You can get that product and do it yourself and it gives you the same look. It doesn't take that long at all. And you pay for one visit, that's $65 to $100. You get all the supplies you need for the whole year.
Yeah.
And it's, and I saved the drive back and forth to the place, waiting to be seen, and the whole 2 or 3 hours of whatever else they do that you really don't need to have done that makes you feel like it's something special. And
yeah.
It's like, nice. And, then I'll go do something else with that extra little side money that's more important to me, or whatever, And so that there's things that have changed, and to have that, some type of a vending machine for all that does make a difference.
It does. I was talking to a gentleman recently here in Miami, where I am, and he lives downtown, and he was just kind of telling me a little bit about himself and the building that he lives in. He says, hey, there's a market downstairs, and they charge an arm and a leg for everything. But in order for me to get basic things, I have to go get the car and, think about it, downtown, parking. And so I actually am collaborating with him to do a convenience machine for some of the buildings in the area. So the convenience machine will sell all sorts of things, all sorts of miscellaneous items, deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrush, Tylenol, not just snacks and drinks. It's a convenience machine. So I told him, I said, put yourself in the idea that if you needed to go and get a phone charger or something like that, how far is Walgreens? He's like, yeah, it's a few blocks. I'd have to catch an Uber. Or I said, so imagine if you had a machine downstairs, right? With these things in there.
Yes, that makes so much sense. In Beverly Hills, it's so stupid. You have to drive a half an hour to go like 12 blocks
Really?
or 15 blocks. And then you have to pay, if there's no parking, you have to pay valet or walk, I don't know how many miles to get to where you're going to
Wow.
go. And then so you've already spent the gas, which is okay. In our area, it's $5-6 a gallon minimum.
What?
Yeah, and that's just the way it is. And then you've got to pay the valet or the parking meter. If you're lucky, you get the meter. And they only take a credit card now, no coins, because it's that expensive per hour.
Oh, wow.
And then you finally get to your appointment, and then you're shopping, and then you got to buy the stuff or pay for the whatever it is, and it's kind of ridiculous. It's really, it's like I plan my trips to go out, and it used to be before all this crazy pandemic that I would just take an Uber or a Lyft.
Mm-hmm.
You actually spend less money than paying for all the parking.
Right. No, that is true. That is true. And I learned it.
They've raised the prices on the Uber and Lyft.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the gas and everything else, it makes sense. But and they're limited. So now it's not like before. You could wait an hour, half an hour to an hour for an Uber or Lyft. Whereas before in the city, you would have one every, in a minute. They just swing around. There they are. And so that's the situation. So this is such a good time.
It is.
Doing. And I'd love to hear how you work with people, how people would get started with you to actually, start a little vending machine service.
Really, my platform that I will call it hang out at is Instagram, right? So I'm usually there. And of course I have my website, iKraveVending.com. And I find what people like the most is not just to buy a course or an ebook. They like to speak with me. And so my approach is kind of different. I actually help everybody hands-on. So I kind of, they book their call, and from there they have access to me via text. I get people texting me all the time, because I help them with everything, starting their business structure, IRS stuff, insurance, everything. So I kind of provide that real hands-on guidance so that they won't make the mistake that I did, and have to figure it out at the end. And I can just help them go through the right steps the first time. And I'm always posting new content, even for someone who is not quite ready to start a business, but they like the idea and it's interesting to them. I try to post things that, get people's mind going, and, it's a lot of fun too. I love it. And it's so interesting, the power of the internet, because here I am, I'm located in Miami, but I'm helping people. I have a lot of people that I've helped out in your area over in California, but everywhere, all over the US. I've had people I've helped in Canada, Europe, just recently, and this blew my mind. I had some people from Kuwait.
Wow.
They have some business over here, and, with coordinating with me and some people to help them out, I was like, wow, that is big. So it's pretty interesting. And I mean, if anybody is interested, I love, helping them out and educating them a little bit more. And I'm on all social platforms under iKrave Vending. And so, that's where you can find me at.
iKrave Vending. Yes, that is wonderful. Wow, that sounds like something that just a fun project. I mean, it's not a big investment. What would you say the investment is to get started with the machine and all what is that? What if somebody
So let's say you're doing, let me give you with the candy machine. So you can get started with that for about $300 for the business, finding, and something else that people do in the vending machine business is they when they don't want to go and find a location for themselves, I'll partner them up with someone that'll do it for them. So even, really like a ready-made You just need the motivation, and I'll keep on you. But anyways, so for someone who wants to do candy vending, to start out small and maybe do something, you can do that with about $300. Let's say you want to do traditional snacks and drinks. If you're going on the used side with like a used machine, with everything, you can get started for, I want to say, maybe about $2,000. Buying the machine. And honestly, depending, I don't want to say it's, set in stone, but man, sometimes you can find a machine. I see them all the time, for sale, as low as $600 for one machine. So yeah, so that's more or less of a price range on the higher end to be, a little bit fair. So yeah, it's not that expensive to get started. And believe it or not, Sheila, I actually help, most of the people that I help are already business owners. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm like, what? Yeah. They're like, yeah, we want to diversify our investments and, get into some other things. So that part is really interesting, that most of the people that I'm helping already own a business. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's a lot of fun.
That is good. Now, so that's for the machine. And then they have to put money out to like stock the machine and business licensing and da.
Yeah.
So add like $1,000 to that, 500 to 1,000, depending, or less, or
maybe 500, not 1,000. Okay. Because if you're just doing snacks and drinks, of course, the name of the game is to get it at wholesale, right? Yes. So we're not going to pay the same price that when you go in the grocery store and buy a box of chips. It's not going to be the same price because you're going to buy it at wholesale. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to spend that much. And I don't recommend anyone just, and people do it out of fun. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to pick up this. I'm going to pick up that. I'm going to, I tell people when you're first starting out, take it slow. Buy a few things so you can kind of get to know what people like. Right? Yeah. So there's a lot of little small factors that go into it. It's not just, let me just go pick up this and put it in there. But yeah, I would say about $500.
Yes. So, and you need to have your business license and everything else in place and the contracts, and you walk people through all those steps.
Yes. I've gathered resources and spent a lot of time where I kind of went through all 50 states and kind of found out what are the requirements for each state. Have a vending machine. Some states you don't need anything, honestly. Some states you do. And it's no one answer. It's really individualized. And but yeah, help them out with everything, and vending machine insurance, everything.
Wow, I didn't know about the insurance. That's interesting. Yeah. And if you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we are talking about how to start a very profitable vending machine business. And so I am just going to share one more thing, and then we will get back to the interview.
You need a guide to show you how we get through a situation like this, to give you resources and to help you get out of the emotional pea soup fog of dealing with a crisis and the resulting fallout. I've been there, and I'm here to help you.
To grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available
on Audible, Amazon, Kindle, and wherever fine books are sold.
I never even knew this exists. So age plays a difference. The area that you're in, it's so many little things that we don't think about that really make or break the business, as far as your revenue and what you're gaining in your sales. You have to, it's like playing a game. You got to kind of figure it out, right? You can throw some stuff out there, but essentially you're testing. And then once you figure out what they like, you put more of that, right? And you just kind of rearrange and kind of go from there. So it's a building thing. You might put stuff in there and get a hit, but, you're going to learn the location eventually. And like I said, I got a guy, he has a machine at a car lot, and he was telling me that, hey, the drinks are flying off but the snacks aren't.
Oh.
So, And that's okay. That's normal. I mean, it really just depends on where you are. And, they're hot. These are salesmen that are out, probably trying to sell cars, and they just want more drinks than they want to snack. Maybe they don't have the time to snack like that. So yeah, your demographics is going to really drive the direction of what your the products that you're going to put in there. Very similar to you. How you're going to display it, and and that's interesting that you said it breaks it on down to the music.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty.
I mean, we had the first store was in Montrose, California, near the Rose Bowl on the other side of Pasadena. And it was a community of people that were mostly grandparent age. And so played. When I was 23, so I was playing like the modern music, and people were like, I can't sing noise, and it was like, okay, cool. And then I brought in Frank Sinatra and music that's more calming and peaceful and that they're familiar with. And they would stay and I'd have tea and different things. And, I do concerts. On the weekend, I would have live performers do live music. I had 5,000 square feet. So we move things. People would come in and listen to the music and they would buy. And so, but I had to change. And so that was one of the rules that, we only have to play these particular types. Now, being that young, I played my own music and it was not that music. Obviously, the car, the windows would shake, when you're, and that would be fine. But I made that example and it was really, the revenue just doubled. It was ridiculous.
Really?
You think it's just music.
Wow. And that's pretty interesting. That is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Wow. So I guess you have to analyze each area and see, okay, well, what type of, what's our age range? What type of people are we having here? Kind of music do they listen to?
Oh yeah. Monrovia was different. Sierra Madre was different. Burbank, next to the studios, I had a big place, and so that was a completely different. And actually, the studios would buy, and I would hunt for them, and they would give me their list of what they needed for the next show. What? And I would source those. And so it was a completely different, and you would have different fun music, and it was a completely different feel. And so I learned so much, and my clients were my teachers. So
they taught you.
Definitely.
And that's good. And those are things that you learn that, look, it sticks with you. It doesn't go anywhere. And so that's good. That's good. Pretty interesting.
What you're doing sounds like such an incredible way to either start a side business if you're, a parent, or working and maybe your hours are getting cut, or things are getting weird right now with the rules changing, and maybe you're for them or against them, or who knows what. But, it is what it is, and we have to do our best. And so to have this is a great way. It's better to invest in a small business and make adjustments as you go than to go spend the money on, well, this is sad, let's just go waste this money on whatever. And it's an education. You're paying to learn. When you start this business, you're learning something as you go. So if you have young, I'm thinking, okay, my college kids and I are probably going to be talking to you. We're going to have a discussion after this.
Yeah.
If they could figure out something, maybe the college or near the college will let them do something nearby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're open where we are. Certain places, some of the kids are going to colleges that are open, and some aren't. But what options are there? Even if the colleges are closed where you're at, where you can have something that would be available for people in that age group, that would be fun. And it's kind of like your first business experience to really
put
it out and have a mentor, a coach like you that knows the ropes. And then that's a really great, I think that's better than a class.
It is. And
this is like open source learning here.
And let me tell you, I had a guy one time, I thought this was really cool. how I even got into, helping with the kids and stuff. The lady, she wrote me on Instagram first, and she said, listen, my son is always getting birthday money. I refuse to let him keep throwing it away. I want him to do something. And he was so excited, about getting his candy machine. And I also tell people to look at it like this. Even if you have a teenager, right? We all know how teenagers are, going through things, and they kind of, distance themselves while they're growing and learning themselves. You can also use this as a bonding mechanism, between you and your kid with something that's interesting, right? And you spend that one dedicated day. Look, hey, listen, Sheila, these are our days that we go and check our machines on Saturdays, okay? Nice. And we go shop for our product. And and you can use that as a building tool, and you're teaching them at the same time. And you're going to let them, do the counting and kind of let them be accountable for kind of tracking the inventory. Although there's ways to do that technically, but, get them involved. And you might not really think about it, but that's a bonding time. So that's another way I like to look at it too. When we're talking about parents and teenagers or kids. So it's fun. They're going to love it. Trust me. They get excited when they get, oh man, it's exciting, So,
yes,
mm-hmm.
yes. When I had my stores, I finally closed them down and
really?
Just rented the buildings out. But when I had the stores open,
mm-hmm.
that was one thing I did raising my kids. Sometimes they were just with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a complete section that was educational toys. And especially for the grandmas or the people in the studios, they would come in and they'd be like, oh yeah, I want my kids to learn something. And my kids would go with me to order the toys. And they would come in on the weekend or a day off, and they would play a game in front of the adults. And they'd be like, holy smokes, the kids are learning math. And they'd buy it for all their grandkids or all their kids. And they got to keep a percentage of the profit. And so they all have their own little side business now. And, some of them are beyond college already. And it's just that education was so good. And it was our bonding time. And they were so proud of themselves. And when they made a mistake and ordered the wrong thing, we'd go into the swap meet and selling it there, whatever. Let's start over again. So it was a beautiful thing for us.
Yeah. And they'll never forget those times, they won't. And those are experiences and lessons that they still think about. Trust me, even if they don't tell you, they think about it. And, those are things that you just can't take back. It's an experience, right? And so they got a lot of exposure to different things, entrepreneurship, finances, money, social skills, being around other people, just so many different things that we really don't think about. But, as you're reflecting, you're like, wow, I really, with this, bringing them with me on Saturdays, I really, gave a lot of enrichment in their life that, we didn't see at the time. But look, it kind of developed them into, groomed them into, the people they are now.
Oh, yes. And so, I think I was a teacher also for many years, Montessori and then Waldorf. And because, some of the kids needed that and they're more creative or whatever. And 6 of them, and going private was not something. And I got to have the kids with me. And then because I taught there, they got either a discount or free, depending on which school it was. And so it was really something I needed to do for my kids, but I learned so much, and it was such a gift. And one of the things that I saw happening, because there were parents that maybe did their homework for the kids, or there were parents that gave the kids so much. High school, a brand new, I don't know, nice sporty car, like out to lunch. And I'm like, you know what? That's such a disservice.
Right.
It is not a good thing at all. And it tells them, I don't think you're capable of doing this on your own. And I'm not going to show you how to stand on your own 2 feet. Whereas, when your kids get involved, they value work.
So when my kids ended up going for their first jobs outside of working in my store business, they got like management positions at 18 and 19 years old. They were helping the business run the books, or they were locking up at the Starbucks or whatever it was, because they had that, I don't know, it's like pride in work and a work ethic. Because they understood, that this work ethic, if they need to call out because they're going to go on an event, it's 2 or 3 weeks in advance notice they'll give, or that kind of thing. Or really, they just, and so they could be trusted in that sense because they had that, and they get promotions more, and, at work, and so many blessings. So that's something they don't teach it in a book. It is our quick break time. And this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today I wanted to share with you about my favorite new tea. It is lovemysupertea.com, and let you hear a little bit more about it.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea helps you build the red corpuscles in the blood, which can carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. A 1-pound package of tea is $34.95 plus shipping. To order, please visit lovemysupertea.com. That's love, L-O-V-E, my, M-Y, super, SUPERTEA.com. So the complete website is lovemysupertea.com, or call 818-288-4128, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, California time. That's lovemysupertea.com at 818-288-4128.
Now, back to the show.
They don't. They really don't. And, that's just a combination of, exposure and good parenting. And so, it's not about giving. What can I give them? Can I give them expensive shoes? And what values and morals can you instill in them so that when they're ready to get on their own, because at some point they have to, it doesn't matter how much money you have, they're well equipped, right? They're well equipped and they have good morals and values. So, it was worth it. It was worth it because now look, you're seeing it. You're like, wow, okay, these kids can get out there and work, and they can hold down managerial positions, and they can go in there and, help them count and, balance the books. And it's because of what you did, when they were younger.
Make the difference. And I mean, the look on their face and the pride they have in themselves when they bought their own first car. And I mean, it's like, yeah, okay, well, maybe I helped out with insurance here and there.
Yeah, but that's okay.
But they got to do that. And there was such a pride, whereas the other kids that maybe got to get the car bought for them and it's a nice new car. They didn't take such care. There were more accidents and more, because it was not something they produced. And so there's something I feel like I knew when you can afford to buy your own car, you're going to be responsible enough to be safe, to follow the laws, to be careful. Don't drink and drive. Don't do these crazy things. And so that made a big difference in their ability to be responsible too. So this is a great way to start out. I can't wait to do the vending machine here, and we'll probably do it in a couple different places because I have kids in different states.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so that's wonderful. And for those tuning in, I'd love for you to share one more time where they can connect to get started.
Sure. So if you're a Facebook user, because I know some people prefer one platform over the other, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram under iKrave Vending. So that's IKRAVE Vending. Okay. You can find me either on either platform. If you write me, I will write you back. I enjoy it. I'll respond to you. Or you can email me. Some people like to email. So info@iKraveVending.com. That's another way to catch me. Or iKraveVending.com, the website. Okay. So you got a few options. There. And so, anybody that's looking to learn, I'm willing to help.
Outstanding. And the last question I always have for my guests is, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
That's easy. If I can go back in time, the advice that I would give my younger self is probably to have taken care of your credit a little bit better when you were younger. When I was in college, I didn't appreciate it. I didn't understand it. And man, it can take you really far. So if I can go back and say, Lakinya, take your credit as serious as you take your health. And, in my early 20s, and I think that would have, not that I regret anything, but it would have had some different opportunities available with that. And I think anybody that's an adult can kind of attest to that, with credit, it really is key in it. And it really does matter. Yes. So that will probably be the one thing. And if I had to tell somebody that was 23, I would say, take care of your credit.
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is so good. And when you start your business, you can get business credit. And let me tell you,
that's another.
I was 23. By the time I was 24, because of the stores and the business credit, I remember buying a van, 0 interest on the business credit.
Yep.
Best deal. I could never get that deal as a young kid, just, starting out.
Yeah.
But the business could. It was a corporation, S-corp, and I remember buying the other properties. I rented the first place, bought the other properties, all with the business credit.
That's what I mean.
Learn about, if you're starting at a certain point, once you start and build, you think vending machines, well, anything, whatever it is, you're going to start to establish business credit. You will be able to invest, including buying a home or buying a business space. So keep that in mind and don't use that personal credit. That's really important. I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, it actually is. And that's something that I do recommend people to. Like, go ahead and establish and I'm learning this kind of late in the game, but at least I'm helping the next person. Go ahead and get you want to get that established. I do have some people that they buy machines on business credit. Come up with the vendor. So, because remember I said some of these people are already established business. But yeah, it's important. It's really important.
Yes, that's wonderful. All right. Well, thank you again, Lakinya, for
being
a show, and I look forward to learning more about it. So for those tuning in, we'll be back after these messages. Stay tuned.
All right.
Overview of the Boots formula. In December of 2017, I lost my house, my car, and my cat due to a fire. It sounds like a country music song, but that was my reality. And yet another rock bottom situation. After a long period of doing really well, when we're able to retrain our minds to focus on the positives, we're able to enjoy more of life, even while we're rebuilding and rebooting. We're going to starve those negative thoughts, not feeding them with our attention, time, or energy. When you focus on the good parts of your life, those things that you can be grateful for in this moment, that energy will bring even more good things your way. Contribute and utilize your unique talent. You're not thinking about the problem at hand. You're not showing up for approval. You're just being your best self. You use your rock bottom to set the direction for your life beyond this rock bottom situation. It's important that you are really honest about where you are in this situation. You can't lie because you don't want to give up your personal responsibility. You have to own every part of this and realize it could be worse. It could be better, but this is it. If you aren't able to be honest about where you're starting from, you won't be able to clearly see where you want to go or how to get there. The next letter of Boots will help you answer that. The second O is for order of operations. The third step of the Boots formula is finding the order of operations. When you're in a rock bottom moment, there are certain steps you know you need to take to get out of it, and you need to complete those steps in a certain order. T is for thinking. The fourth step of the Boots formula is thinking. If you recall your thinking at the most successful points in your life, it's probably vastly different from your thinking when a crisis brings you to a rock bottom situation. Often, at the toughest times, our thinking goes to survival. We lose sight of the possibilities and opportunities that are before us. This is where thinking comes into play. It's vital to have a strong mindset in order to keep our boots on and walk out of a rough spot in life. Thinking leads you to a clear vision of where you want to go on that map of your desired outcome. You've made the decision that you're going to New York. Your bags are packed. You have an idea of how you're going to get there. You know the steps you need to take, though you may not know how the hell you're going to take them all, but you've made up your mind. That's where you're going. Tony Robbins often says, it's in the moment of decision that one's destiny is shaped. That decision is the thought that comes before the action steps required to reach your new goal. Everything happens in this step, in that decision. You can see it, feel it, embody it. Things start to show up because you're looking for them and you're open to them. You'll start getting the results you want just because that decision is in your mind. It becomes that real to you. Once you have that clear vision in your mind, you have to see yourself as if you already are living in your desired reality. You're just doing the steps to get there. S is for stepping up. The fifth and final step of the Boots formula is a literal step, stepping up. You've gone through the first 4 steps. You've decided how you're going to show up. You have a picture of where you're going. You know the steps you need to take, and you've made the decision to actually do something. It would be nice if you could just sit, think, and meditate your desired outcome into being. But that's not the way it works. There is some validity to the idea of manifesting what you want, but at the same time, you have to believe enough to actually go out there and take the risk. You have to overcome your fear of giving your first presentation, making your first speech, or writing your first book. You have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to take those steps. S is for stepping up by taking the personal responsibility required for a real reboot. While the B in Boots is about being in the present with who you are in the situation, S is for taking those steps toward the future you want.
Is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation. To grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible as well as on Amazon and Kindle and at www.sheilamac.com.
Business Leader Reboot tips for even more success. Number 1, don't talk about your sex life. Number 2, don't talk about how much money you have. Number 3, don't talk about the projects you're working on. And number 4, never share your doubts.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea helps you build the red corpuscles in the blood, which can carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. A 1-pound package of tea is $34.95 plus shipping. To order, please visit lovemysupertea.com. That's love, L-O-V-E, my, M-Y, super, SUPERTEA.com. So the complete website is lovemysupertea.com, or call 818-288-4128, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, California time. That's lovemysupertea.com at 818-288-4128.